in every artist's life, or in most artists' lives, there's a moment where you have to just like take the jump. You just have to make a commitment and take the leap. And a lot of people have to work and make money and have like jobs while they're doing stuff on the side. And I think your story about like how you just jumped into the unknown is really inspiring. So if you want to sort of get into that, maybe we could start there.
I appreciate you saying that. I mean, when I started to do the music thing, it was like it was scary at first because it was just like I have no family in the music business at all. Both of my parents have trash ass jobs. Is it cool if I curse on here? Yeah. All right, cool. Just edit it out. Beep it. Both of my parents don't have good jobs. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm in an apartment building. And for those who don't know me, if it's your first time here hearing me, rather you work at JBL, whatever, I go by the name of Gashi. It's my real name. My full name is Labanat Larry Gashi. I added Larry because I was so kind of sick of people saying my name wrong. So when I became an American citizen, I added Larry because I was the only white kid on the basketball team, so they called me Larry Bird. So they called me that, and that's why I ran with that. And that's my full name. I was born in Libya, and my parents are from Kosovo. I'm Albanian, and I didn't want to change my name because I just felt like I wanted to make my parents proud. So I stuck with Gashi as my name. It's my last name. I was like, I want to make my parents proud. I don't want to change that because at the end of the day, we live for our last names, not our first. That's what we die for, and that's what we're forever remembered for. Our kids, for generations have that last name. So I kind of wanted to run with that. And, like you guys in here, regular kid, crazy. We all have our crazy stories. I was born in Libya, and I traveled. My parents traveled over 24 countries to come to America, and it was some of the most difficult times because I never really had a childhood. When I look back, it was always moving, learning a new language, and the only thing I ever could do is like sometimes watch TV, and that's why I loved Home Alone so much. I feel like Home Alone was like the first time I saw the life all the kids lived. Well, not all, majority of the kids lived in America, And I was like watching it. I was in like this project building in Germany, and the Filipino kid next to me looks over at me and goes, "That kid looks like you." And I was like, "What the hell?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And it was first time like me kind of seeing a different side of the world. And I saw Coca-Cola and all the shit, all the things that kid was doing, And that week, like I had a rich family that I knew where I would rake the leaves up with my brother. That family paid me in gummy bears and Coca-Cola. So I drank soda for the first time in my life in Germany. And I kind of was like in love with everything that I was seeing in this house, you know what I mean? And the thing that was so crazy to me is like I'd grab a cup and go to the fridge and it would make ice for me. I was like, yo, this is so crazy, dog. Like this shit just made ice. You know what I mean? Like, so it was like so crazy for me to see all this stuff and then go back to like a shitty life, And my entire life as I traveled, I always would attract people in my life that somehow, some way would like show me a life that I could be living, And long story short, because I don't have too much time here, but I'm gonna try to express as much as, or tell you guys as much as I can. When I moved to New York, we lived in a shelter. And I remember there were certain spots we would live at where we had to keep the lights on because as soon as you turned the lights off, the cockroaches would start crawling on your body. Like, it was moments like where I had to like fight with my brother who would wear a jacket first. You know what I mean? We went to school. The teacher told my mom, your kids need to shave their heads because they all got lice. You know? Like, it was really difficult. It was that point where it's kind of embarrassing to even talk about it now. You know what I mean? But I feel like I've made it and I'm so successful that I feel I'm over that. I could speak on that. And my life kind of changed when my dad worked at a synagogue, and we stayed at the synagogue, and then the dude there helped my dad move into a building as long as he would do the maintenance. And we lived for free. I had my first apartment in a building where all 5 of us lived, you know? And that was the first time I had a house in New York, in Brooklyn. And I went to school, and I would do everything the same way all these other New Yorkers did. I fell in love with skateboarding. I love skateboarding. And I would try to do as much as I could as a kid. I was super active. But the thing that people don't know, and this is exclusive here, my father worked for Warner, but not the label, in the building. He would do all the trash and clean it all up. And they throw the CDs. They would listen to the CDs and throw them in the garbage. And my father would bring the CDs a month early into the house. So I would listen to the music earlier than everybody else. And I would play the CD and pick the singles that I liked off of everybody's album, whether it was Snoop Dogg, Pharrell, whoever it was, because the labels would have their CDs. Even if they were not a part of that label, they'd have the CDs. And I would listen to all the songs that were about to come out, and I'd pick the singles. And those were the exact singles that will always end up on the radio. And I feel like at such a young age, I fell in love with music. I fell in love with the industry, not knowing about the industry. I kind of fell in love with it. Even as a kid, I feel like Michael Jackson changed my life. I saw Michael's video, and I was like, that's who I want to be. And then I traveled every country I went to. I would meet a new artist that I fall in love with. When we went to France, I heard Chip Khalid for the first time. 20-something years later, Chip Khalid calls my phone and says, I want you on my album. My favorite artist tells me I'm his new favorite singer, which is like the craziest moment that recently happened. And I just feel like I kept going, I kept pushing, and everything in my life changed when I met my best friend, Dave and Mike, those 2 twins that are sitting right there. Everything changed in my life when I met Mike and Dave through skateboarding. We got together, and I recently got a Keith Haring tattoo on my chest. The reason why I got that was because Dave was like, hey, man, you could get paid for your art. And he showed me a different lifestyle and was bringing me around a different life. So I would skate from the hood to the suburbs in a nice area, and he would like show me crazy love and be like, man, this is that. Like these Nikes are called this, and this is that fly shit that all the kids are wearing around here. So I was kind of like, again, another family that God blessed me with to kind of show me a different path and a different lifestyle. So I was like Jewish for 5 years, and so I was like Jewish for 5 years, and it was like some of the best moments in my entire life because it changed my mentality. It changed everything for me. And one day, I did theater in high school. So I went to New Utrecht High School. I shouldn't bleep that out. We shouldn't even give them a shout out. I went to New Utrecht High School. I played football, and I did theater. I love doing theater. My friend, who watched that new Gaga movie? There's a kid in there named Anthony Ramos. That's one of my closest friends. We did theater together. He just actually supposed to be here. He texted me. He was like, you should do movies. You should do movies. But I told him I want to do music, and now he wants to do music. But the thing that's so crazy is, I love doing theater. I was supposed to, I wanted to do music, and I wanted to do movies. And somebody came up to me and said to me, they called me names. I don't want to say what kind of names because it's inappropriate, and I don't want to say it. But they called me names for being in theater, and they said, you're that because you're in theater, you're weak. And I was like, so what would make me unweak? What would make me strong? And they said, if you played a real sport like football, And I said, okay. So I joined the football team just to prove people wrong. And I ended up getting a full scholarship. I played football, and I ended up being better than everybody on the football team that was talking shit. So I think as a kid or as a man, I have the mentality of if I dedicate myself to something, regardless of what it is, if it's mopping the floor or making a sandwich, I feel like I put my all into it. And when I went to college on a full scholarship to play football, I realized that I was not in love with football, and I was definitely not in love with school. I hated school. So I was like, why am I here? And I found myself cutting practice, cutting school to record music. So I started recording on Kid Cudi beats. If you like Cudi in this building, I love Cudi. He's influenced me like crazy. I started recording on Cudi beats. I would rip them off of YouTube and record on Cudi beats. And then my coach said, you know you're getting paid to come to school, right? And I said, I know. And he said, you're going to end up losing your scholarship. I said, man, I'm going to come to practice. Don't worry about it. That summer, I ended up with Mike and Dave. Dave said to me, he said, man, if you really want to do the music shit, I believe in it. It's insane. It's really good. Let's invest some bar mitzvah money and make this mixtape. So we made a mixtape. And that summer, I ended up meeting Nipsey Hussle. Rest in peace to Nipsey Hussle.